I think Bitcoin earlier this year may have been struggling with some of the deleveraging that was happening for institutional investors.
Just selling what they could.
Yeah, selling what they could, and I think that suppressed Bitcoin, especially over weekends. But now that deleveraging is done, I think that Bitcoin is going to catch up to gold, and Bitcoin's old high was over 110,000. So I think there is a lot of room to catch up as a sort of non-dollar asset.
But you think the high in the VIX, what did you say that was on April 7th, that holds?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to match that level of fear again. So I think we're probably past peak uncertainty. I mean, even with this Fed controversy, but I don't know if we're past maximum pain. I think that there's still risk that the economic consequences are going to cause markets to be hesitant, but it's going to be hard to match that fear again. So I think a structural low did take place.
Tom Lee, warning, we're probably buying max fear, but we may have some pain ahead of us. Also throwing the caveat out there that we could get a big surprise to the upside if we start landing some trade deals here. Seems like we always got to clear some situation like this before we truly get to the promised land. We saw in the prior cycle, of course, it was the pandemic. Now it's the trade war. We know where we're going to end up, and that's what really matters. But understand, we're going to go through a lot of bullish stuff here within cryptocurrencies, but you got to look over to traditional financial markets, into international trade, because that affects everything. Now, today was a big day for XRP. We see XRP futures live on Coinbase derivatives. This is a regulated market. Now, I don't know how much actual volume and trade will go on here, but it's still a graduation moment for this asset, as XRP now is traded again on a regulated market. Coinbase has officially listed XRP futures contracts on its CFTC-regulated U.S. derivatives exchange, offering both institutional and retail traders new ways to gain capital-efficient exposure to one of crypto's most liquid assets. A big first step here. ETFs are coming next. We're going to look at that. Standard contracts, 10,000 XRP, of course, for your bigger traders, your institutional traders, and you have nano contracts as well. 500 XRP, about $1,000 here. Perfect for the retail trader. So we'll see how much volume comes running through here. Might be quite a lot. We will see. But this is the first step till we get to ETFs and really join traditional financial markets with this asset here. Now, XRP ETF countdown, it's on. The deadlines are locked. Will 2025 be the year XRP enters the Wall Street elite? I think so. Look at this list. They're not filing these for nothing. Grayscale 21 shares, Canary Wisdom Tree, VanEck, Franklin Templeton, you name it, they have filings. And you know BlackRock and Fidelity both are filing soon. And when they do, that probably tells you it's time. They're going to want to contend here with the broader crypto asset market, and it's just a matter of time. So keep your eyes out for BlackRock and Fidelity filings. When you see those come ripping in, it's about time. Now, right now, not just XRP, there are 70 U.S. crypto ETFs that wait decisions in 2025. Everything from Bitcoin and Ethereum derivatives to XRP, Solana, Doge, and even meme coins. You have a Melania ETF and a Penguin Coin ETF. And I don't know that all of them get across the finish line, but you best believe your big ones, they're going to get there. And I like this quote. Having your coin get ETF'd, it's like being a band and getting your songs added to a music streaming service. It doesn't guarantee listeners, but it puts your music where the listeners are. Not every ETF is going to have great success here. We'll have a lot of volume and investment, but it puts you in position to capture those investors, and I think XRP is going to do very well in that environment. Just its utility is easy to understand. It has been around for a long time. It has a lot of global volume. It's one of your top coins, and it's been so. And investors are going to like that. And when they start dipping their toes into the broader crypto space, it's going to be one of the first ones they start scooping up. Institutional interest is booming. 80% of institutions plan to increase crypto allocations in 2025. This is the other thing you got to think about. They're going to break crypto into sectors. You have your smart contracts, of course, your staking cryptos, your dApps, and they're going to be thinking like this. Well, you have your really currency coins, right? Things that are used in payments and to store value, and That's really Bitcoin's number one, but XRP's number two. It's not even close. You got XLM and some other coins like that. XRP's number two by a country mile. People are going to want that. It's like if you have the S&P 500, you're going to have the number two stock in the world, right? You're going to need this coin, and it's going to make a lot of portfolios. It's going to be in a lot of bundled products. This is going to be a huge year for integration within traditional finance, and ETFs is one way they're going to do that. Plus, you're going to get the adoption and usage of blockchain as a tool, which again is another area that XRP will excel at. Option-based ETFs, structured products could also trigger explosive upside, offering more flexibility for portfolio strategies. So this is just the start. We're getting there. Understand, yeah, there's a lot of scary stuff out there, but this is the best setup we could ask for. Look at all these ETFs. They didn't even fit on the screen. This is amazing. Look at all this stuff. You know, if this isn't what mass adoption looks like, I don't know what does. Also today, pro-crypto Paul Atkins has officially been sworn in as the 34th chairman of the SEC. Now, I understand being cautious because we heard, Gary Gensler understands crypto and he's going to bring, sensible rules to the space. And we saw exactly the opposite. We saw lunacy. We saw mayhem. But, he hasn't been confirmed yet. The SEC is already quick to get in here, close out nonsense cases, start, restoring order to the digital asset space. And I expect this just to pick up the pace now that we got Paul Atkins in that chair. He's been communicating with them. He understands what this is about. This is about ushering in this new technology for the future of finance, for the future of payments. It's one of the pillars that will build society into the future. And now is our moment. It's very, very exciting. Now, you always have to remember this. Whether we're looking at XRP, just going through a very transitional time. All sorts of new features, new excitement. You have Ethereum as well. They're not just going to sit back and go, okay. They're having an issue. They're not seeing enough transactions on the main chain. A lot of that's bleeding off into layer 2s. And Vitalik Buterin's proposing a radical overhaul for Ethereum. The co-founder is calling for a major shift away from Ethereum virtual machine. And Vitalik says without radical change, Ethereum's execution layer may never scale completely, may not be able to meet the demands of tomorrow. And you can't have everything on layer 2s. Layer 2s will be part of it, but you can't shift everything over there. This is what's interesting. Moves like this, foundational shifts, this could be huge for the blockchain. And maybe people out there, they don't have any Ethereum or they don't like Ethereum, so they automatically assume, oh, this won't work. We don't know. But, big things like this, it could change the game to the positive for this blockchain, but also you can make mistakes and you may get unintentional consequences. And that's for every blockchain. You're going to see as we go into the future, you're going to see big changes to Bitcoin. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to stay with these small blocks. And again, some of these things will work out. Some of them will not. Even everything we see going on the XRP ledger, it's a work in progress. This is all software. But, I would expect from your big blockchains that have been around for a long time, they're going to get it right. XRP ledger is going to excel. Bitcoin's going to excel. And I bet you Ethereum, they get this together and they take off as well. But we'll see. Again, you never know who's going to end up being the Yahoo and who's going to be the Google. Only time, really answers those arguments. We see this post here by Fred Krueger. Ethereum fees are collapsing. Not good. This is bad because unless you're Bitcoin, you live and die by fee revenue. Generally, the model is generate fees, burn coins, which equates essentially to a stock buyback for a blockchain. Ethereum usage on the main chain is being cannibalized by layer 2s, crushed by Solana. Again, I think some of this is master of panic with Ethereum. Blockchains, if you've been around, sometimes you're in the barrel, sometimes you are the star of the block. I think it's a little bit of master of panic here, but you have to look at these issues, and it looks like they're taking this serious. So, we'll see how it plays out here over the coming months. One thing that jumps out about this Oregon case, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I'm not worried about Oregon. It just shows that politicians, they're willing still to attack this space. If you didn't hear, Oregon has basically taken Gary Gensler's SEC case And they're running with it, right? They've refiled the Coinbase suit, and they've expanded the coins that they are calling securities in the Oregon AG's complaint here. They've added Uni, Aave, Flow, Link, Maker, and even XRP. This just shows they're just throwing everything out here. You know, we had a judge rule XRP is not a security. And this Oregon AG, they just don't care. They're trying to attack this space. This just shows we need clear laws. We got to strike while the iron is hot. You don't know who the SEC chair is going to be here in 4 years and what president will be in there and what they want to do. We have to have clear laws now. We cannot sit back and assume everything's going to be okay just because right now regulators don't want to attack this space. This just shows it's still highly politically motivated, and this Oregon AG filing this nonsense suit, and they even toss XRP in there. What a bunch of crap. We see another day, another record for gold. $3,500 an ounce is just hours away at the time of this recording. Gold price is up 47% over the last 12 months. Now, I'll remind you this. If we have any real turmoil breakout, gold's going to get whacked as well. People sell everything, anything they can. This whole gold is a safe haven. Yes, kind of over maybe a long term, but in the short term, everything gets hit. Crypto, stock, gold, you name it. If there is anything very significant that breaks out. We're seeing this due to President Trump's pro-crypto asset stance. Some banks are striving to increase their ties with the crypto asset industry. We're seeing Deutsche Bank and Standard Chartered are now reportedly looking to expand their crypto operations into the United States. And that's the point of all of this. Bring the crypto industry here. Be the crypto capital of the world. This makes such a difference. Having a pro-innovation, pro-crypto, outlook here. Bitcoin, crypto, XRP. Are these safe haven assets? Are they risk assets? People still really don't know what to make of all of this. Let's listen to this segment from CNBC, see what they have to say.
On the screen today, as you know, however, you probably didn't look at Bitcoin. Janae McKeel did, and she's here. It's up 3%. What do you make of the way that this has been trading? It's decoupled, obviously, from the NASDAQ, which was a trend for a while. How do you see it?
Something that people were looking for all month, because if you go back to earlier this month, it really was trading in line with stocks. It just was not seeing the big, pops and drops that one we're used to seeing out of Bitcoin, and two, it is outperforming the S&P. It has not really caught up with gold, the leading safe haven, but I think you are seeing evidence, not just. I think that the obvious and easy narrative would be that we're talking about Fed independence today, so Bitcoin is kind of acting as that hedge against, political uncertainty. But I also think that it's not just enthusiasm, it's also exhaustion. You're seeing people, investors wanting to, get back into risk, but just maybe not the type of risk that's tied to earnings or Fed policy.
You got a quick thought?
I do.
It's interesting. There's a lot of different things it could be. It could be people are treating this as a safe haven, a non-dollar type of asset. They could be looking at things saying, you know what, even with all the turmoil, with so much pro-crypto, pro-innovation within the United States, we got to get some now before this space takes off. It could really be a lot of things with something this emerging no one really knows. But we know this. Over the long run, your true cryptocurrencies that continue to have value, they go in one direction and one direction only, and that's up, to the right, and faster than anything else. That's just the way this works. There'll be a time when gold is, flat for a decade, and this space is going to continue to rip up and up and up. This is the future here. Raul Paul giving a good reminder here, because you'll see a lot of people out there saying, oh no, the dollar's getting weaker. That's the point. That's half the point of everything we're doing here. We see Raul Paul saying the following. Everyone needs and wants a weaker dollar to service their dollar debts, but no one wants it too fast. That's the scary part. You don't want it to happen so quickly, but they need it to be lower over the next 12 months. This is the purest form of global liquidity and is the largest driver of global M2 currently. So people act like, we want the dollar to be super strong. Oh, no, you don't. You don't want it too strong, and they actually want to whack that thing down a little bit, but just a little bit over a more controlled amount of time, over a year period, maybe not, instantly. That's not good either. We see back from my buddy Tom Lee here saying, White House really needs to put some points on the board. And if we got a trade deal, this would be a positive policy shock. We need to show we're having some success in these discussions. And you had Japan, we're like, look, we're looking to do a deal. They're just not telling us what they want. And we can't just have endless concessions. That's not reasonable. I don't know exactly what they're doing. They could be just stalling a little bit to see how other trade deals materialize here. But they need to start signing some, And I always have in the back of my mind, is this something bigger? Because if this is just about better deals, if this is about fairer trade, it's going to get done. You're going to see deals get signed. Now, there's always off chance that, specifically with China and the U.S., there just can't be a deal done for different reasons. That's not what I expect. That's not kind of my outlook here, but it's always a possibility. So just keep that in mind. But again, people say, oh, well, these other countries don't like President Trump, so they won't do deals. That's who you do deals with. That's who you make peace with, not always with people you like, right? You have differences of opinion with, and you come together and you come to some sort of agreement. That won't stop anything. Business will prevail. Today, though, nasty day. 1.4 trillion was wiped out from the stock market. The market is on pace for the worst April since 1932. Some of it's trade war, some of it's this fighting with the Federal Reserve, which I told you when we started this year. It's always the same gimmicks. Back and forth. You need to bring the rates down. I'm not bringing the rates down. And Powell always caves. Once a caver, always a caver. Further, I think you may see him cave by stepping down himself. Not getting fired, but stepping out of the way and letting someone else take over. We'll see. For the first time in 44 years, investors are selling America across multiple assets. S&P 500 down 10%. U.S. dollar index down 5%. U.S. 10-year yield up 10 basis points. We're going to end here with this video. Apollo chief economist puts recession odds at 90%. Remember, though, what my buddy Billy the XRP Cowboy says. Once they admit to a recession that's been ongoing for a long time, you're about ready to pop out the other side. But let's hear what they have to say here with Apollo.
The chief economist at Apollo puts the odds at 90%, warning, quote, implementing extremely high tariffs overnight hurts many businesses. Expect ships to sit offshore, orders to be canceled, and well-run generational retailers to file for bankruptcy. It's a dire picture, and I'm pleased to welcome Torsten right now to the program. Torsten, thanks for joining us. When we talk about a recession and you put the odds at 90%, you're talking about a quote-unquote voluntary trade reset recession. What does that mean exactly, voluntary reset recession?
So what that means is that there is obviously a need to level the playing field when it comes to trade. The U.S. has been an open economy for time. The U.S. economy has had the lowest level of non-tariff barriers, the lowest level of tariffs. So on the back of that, the administration is, of course, trying to do what you could call a trade reset. The challenge is that the way these policies are being implemented, it comes, unfortunately, with some pretty significant adjustment costs, especially for small businesses. Because remember, as we all know, when goods arrive from China to Los Angeles, the tariff has to be paid at the port. And
so what he's talking about is the speed of things. We didn't ease into this. You have some of your small and medium businesses, which, are employers for a vast swath of the population. They don't have the capital to deal with this. It's very quick. And so, it could be very damaging. I think what he makes is a good point. There is substance for doing this trade reset. A lot of people that don't like the approach, they act like there's no reason for it. There is. There is substance to this. There's logic behind it. We can argue about, was this a good way to approach things or not? Time will tell that. You can come to deals. And other countries will break deals with you. They may not like the way that the U.S. approached this deal. But on the flip side, we could have started out very low and escalated up and up and up. And this thing could have drug on for months and years. Like, we kind of just jumped to the chase here. If this is really just about fairer trade, it will get done. I expect that. You just always have to keep in the back of your mind, it might not be. There could be bigger issues at play. We'll see it play out here. Again, this is nothing new. We've been through this with cryptocurrencies. If this drags on for a long time, we're going to get whacked at some point. Bitcoin, XRP holding up incredibly strong from where we stand now, but it won't continue forever. But the great thing about crypto is this. It could be all over Red Rover. We're just knocked down in the dirt, and we will be so back, it's stupid, and so quickly We know where we're going. Just keep your eye on that. Make sure you can weather the storm, though, because we don't know how long this will drag on for, but we'll pop right back and be off and roaring. We had the perfect setup for this asset class. XRP's looking great. Bitcoin's looking great. Maybe someday Ethereum will get its act together. We will see. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.